G'day, welcome to another episode of the Savings Tip Jar, the podcast about the latest in banking and finance, focusing on what's relevant to the savings of everyday Aussies. I'm Dom Beattie, and with me to holler about the dollar is Harrison Asprey. Good arvo, Has.
G'day Dom, it's good to be here once again. There's going to be a lot of hooting and hollering in today's one because it's the final of this season, or this year rather. It's been a great year, and coming up on today's episode, we have a very special guest, Daniel Scaberis from Point Hacks. He's a credit card whiz, and we're here to talk about all things credit card points and how to maximise your credit card points while doing so responsibly. So that'll be a good one, Dom.
Yeah, good first season of the podcast, I think. Good thing to sort of just make a start. We didn't know where we would be taking this, but we've kept going. We're still doing this. We're having fun. That's the main thing. And hopefully some people are out there listening to this and enjoying our chats about finance. So yeah, let's get stuck into it then. Last episode of the year. So start with our usual savings news roundup. All right, so the first one, the big elephant in the room, obviously we had a RBA rate hike this week, so another 25 basis points up to 3.1%. There was some speculation that the RBA would actually hold their fire this month. But with some of the numbers coming out showing that the economy was starting to slow down pretty quickly. Yeah. But obviously they decided, no, let's go again.
Yeah, there was a few economic indicators, I guess, that have come out recently. So retail spend has come off the boil for the first time in 2022. And inflation, although that's relying on the ABS's kind of sort of murkier monthly inflation figure, that's come off a little bit as well. So that wasn't enough to deter Dr. Phil Lowe and his RBA board members, however, with the cash rate now at 3.1, which is the highest since October 2012. So I'm not sure what you were doing in 2012, Dom, but I wasn't looking at the RBA cash rate, that's for sure.
No, I think I was selling barbecues. Yeah.
Okay. Is that a metaphor?
That was an actual job I used to hold. Yeah, it was good times. The old Weber Q and
that's a good one.
The Ziegler and Brown barbecue. It was interesting. But yeah, that's what I was doing in 2012. But yeah, I think RBA's obviously they don't meet in January because who wants to meet in the first Tuesday of January? Everyone's surely off, enjoying their summer break.
Phil Lowe's applying his suntan lotion all over his arms.
So what a
while he's down at Bondi Icebergs.
Yeah. Oh well, he's a keen swimmer, I've heard. So maybe. I guess they probably thought, well, hey, if spending continues pretty strong through December and January, we're not able to hike the rate in January to slow that down. So another 25 to carry us through to February. Yeah. And then who knows from there? Some people say, like Shane Oliver, one of our previous guests, he reckons that's it, no more rate hikes. He thinks 3.1. Others think, there will be 2 or 3, more to come. So we'll see how it all plays out.
Yeah, I think most major bank economists kind of think it'll peter out by mid-year. So I think ANZ and NAB have around 3.85%, which implies 3 more hikes essentially by mid-year. And by that point, mortgages would be well and truly up, and maybe some of those key economic indicators will be coming down, hopefully. So inflation and things like that. But look, so as we've mentioned before, mortgage rates aren't good in a time of when the RBA hikes the rate. But savings account rates, once again, they're coming up. It's pretty much just part and parcel. So big recent news as well. So BOQ has increased its future savers account to up to 4.75%. And then its sort of main competitor, I guess, nowadays is ING. They've boosted their rate up to 4.55%. And as we've said before, a lot of times, Dom, on this podcast, there's a few hoops to jump through to get those rates, but good to see that they're sticking true and sticking solid and giving savers a bit of a boost after so many years of really crap rates, to be honest.
Yeah. No, I guess the main difference between those two accounts is the BOQ one is limited to people who are 18 to 35. Yeah. And it's only on up to 50 grand, which that's a lot of money to a lot of people, but there might be some sort of high rollers who've got, maybe 100 grand in savings. They would have to go for the ING one, which offers their high interest on up to 100 grand. So, but yeah, that's a fair bit of money, but 4.75%, 4.55%, but still, inflation, what is it? 6.9% based on the monthly indicator.
Yeah.
But I mean, guess what you're doing is you're reducing the impact of inflation by a fair chunk, by the 4.5 or 4.75. So, yeah, I mean, you mentioned those hoops. You know, there's other accounts out there as well, isn't there? Didn't you say Macquarie have got a pretty good rate?
Yeah, Macquarie has I think they're boosting theirs up to 3.7 by 16th of December, so that's in a few days' time. And you don't need to do anything to attain that rate. You just park some money in there and away you go. And look, there's a few others too. So I think ANZ Plus has around 3.5%. To my knowledge, they haven't announced any rate hikes off the back of the latest RBA hike. But look, as we always say, time will tell. And 3.7% is pretty good in the market for not having to do anything to attain that. So once again, it's a juggling act of having to jump through a few hoops and get maybe 1 percentage point more, or just park it and pop, lock and drop it.
I've just got the Money for Nothing song by Dire Straits.
Oh yeah, great banger.
Going through my head. Because I mean, if you've got a big fat mortgage, you probably have to park your money in the offset account. But I just think how good it would be, you know, just having the money sat in the savings account, and it's just paying you quite a few, you know, you could be getting hundreds of dollars a month if you've got enough money in there, just for having that money sat there.
Yeah,
it's pretty handy.
It's a few Big Macs.
Yeah, for sure. Now to another economic Big Mac. Nice. GDP, that's a big one, a big economic number that all the economists look forward to 4 times a year. So we had the September quarter GDP numbers come out. Now this one revealed that the economy in Australia grew 0.6% over the September quarter. Now this is down from the 0.9% in the June quarter. So there are definitely some signs that it's starting to slow down. As part of that big sort of economic data dump, we got one thing that we pay at Savings particular attention to is the household savings ratio that shows how much of people's money basically they're putting aside. And that fell down to 6.9%, which is not really that surprising. It's down from 8.3% it was in the June quarter. But, you know, it's still well above where it was in 2018, 2019, when household savings ratio was only around 3 or 4%.
Yeah, wow.
I mean, but it's come a long way down from didn't it get near 20% through the
so household saving over 1/5 of their income during the pandemic with nowhere to spend it, and a lot of pandemic money coming through from the government and things like that. But look at how quickly that's fallen. I'm actually surprised though it didn't fall any lower. So 6.9%, that's still pretty healthy. I was honestly expecting below 5%. But look, certainly I think in the next GDP release, it'll fall below 5. Because as Dom mentioned, that was for the September quarter. So that feels like ages ago now. So that's July, August and September.
Yeah, that was before a
few months ago.
Rate hikes, for sure. Yeah, no, so I expect that to go down. But, it's an interesting barometer of the economy because technically, when the household spending ratio is quite low, it's supposed to be like a sign of confidence, that people are confident enough to go out there and spend. Whereas when it's quite high, it's when people are quite nervous about what's going on. They'll hang on to their pennies and don't spend it as much. So it's weird times at the moment because obviously it took off during pandemic when everyone was panicking. But now it's almost like people want to hang on to their dollars, but they just can't because, interest rates going up and energy bills going up and inflation driving grocery costs up, that people they actually can't. They're forced to spend this money.
It's like people are buying iPads or whatever. They're using it on everyday necessities.
Yeah, the non-discretionary. Yeah, sure.
But speaking of weird times, Dom, flatmates.com.au, so the website where you find a housemate, has come out with some data. They revealed that over 65s are the fastest growing demographic on the website. So older people looking for housemates. They've increased by 25% over the last 5 years, and the Flatmates release here says that uni share houses are kind of falling away a little bit, no doubt probably during the pandemic, with everyone sort of moving back home and not wanting to catch the spicy cough. So that's interesting, Dom. What do you make of that? Like, are older people just lonely? Are they looking to cut costs? Like, what's the go there?
Oh, it's got to be a mixture of both. I mean, probably primarily the cost stuff. I mean, we're hearing that more and more people are starting to hit retirement without owning a home of their own. And, you know, ultimately I think owning a home is probably like what you want going into retirement. It sort of makes me think of that whole debate where people think, you know, should you allow people to use their super to buy a house? Because, you know, the sooner you can get a house and pay it off, and then, you know, the stronger your chances are of having a more comfortable retirement. It just sounds like people go into retirement, maybe they've got a fair bit of super money, but they don't have a roof over their head to call their own. So it makes me think of that. But yeah, it could also just be the loneliness factor. I've heard people suggest, you know, there's a real problem with elderly people being quite alone, and they've suggested more share houses for older people. Almost like little retirement villages all crammed into one house.
Cute.
I don't know how that would go down. I don't imagine my 88-year-old grandma fancying living in a house with...
Just imagine that. They're all watching Sky News at level 80 volume, drowning each other out.
Yeah, or if it's mixed, you know, you got a mixture of uni students, a couple of bong smokers with a couple of, you know, tea drinkers.
Well, you know, like it was like that ABC program where it was retirement house for 4-year-olds. You know, they could weirdly get along. You know,
yeah, because they brought out a series for the teenagers as well. Where just
good on them.
Yeah, so maybe it could be a nice sort of social.
It's also harder for older people to get a home loan as well. So remember, one of our writers interviewed that woman. I think her name was Margaret, and she had just found herself going through a rather messy divorce, and she had no assets to her name, but the banks wouldn't lend her money because realistically, you know, you could die while still owing hundreds of thousands of dollars. So that's also a kind of difficult point there too.
Yeah, definitely very hard to get a home loan when you're over 50, really, because the standard home loan is 25 to 30 years, mostly 30 years.
You need to have an exit interview.
So,
and things like that.
And you're kind of expected to retire around 65, 70. So yeah, the bank would really need to hear what you're going to do when you retire, how you're going to pay off this mortgage, and basically you're going to make a promise. I will use my super money. I will pay it off with that.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. In the meantime, I think it's time for some good deal hunting. That's right, good deal hunting. How do you like them apples, as coined by Matt Damon in Good Will Hunting.
Classic film.
Yeah, good film. So, Harrison, you mentioned in the earlier segments that you've been looking at credit card sign-up deals.
Credit card sign-up deals, at the risk of sounding like spending.com.au, and I'm going to have to look at my notes here because it gets rather complex. So, it's rabbit hunting season right now, and I'm here to hunt for some points. So St. George Bank, with its Amplify Platinum product, is currently offering 90,000 points once you spend $3,000 within 90 days. And these rules here are kind of talking about what we were talking about earlier with Daniel around the credit card churning. There's a lot of sort of day limits and things like that prevent you from just getting the points and saying see you later, essentially. So I've crunched the numbers, aka looked at their website, and if you spend the $3,000 and you qualify for the 90,000 points, that could be enough for a $400 e-gift card, which is, you know, it's all right. Amex, the Explorer card, that's a kind of platinum traveler card, has 50,000 membership points on offer, and for example, a $50 BCF gift card costs 10,000 points. I'm not sure if there's a big overlap between BCF customers and Amex Explorer customers, but you never know. Amex, again, its platinum product, offers up to 200,000 points, but this one here, that's for the high roller for sure, so, you know, James Packer. Because the annual fee is a whopping $1,750. And I'm pretty sure that card is very thick as well. So if you like American Psycho and you like a thick card, that could be the one for you. City Premier offers up to $100,000. Not $100,000. God.
I was like, where can I find this card?
See you later, guys. I'm quitting. Up to 100,000 Qantas points, rather. So this one's split up. You get 70,000 when you spend $6,000 in 90 days, and a 30,000 bonus when you keep your card for over 12 months. So that prevents the credit card churning there. And I've crunched the numbers through Qantas, if they can even get your flight going on time. For example, if you had a return flight from Sydney to San Francisco in March 2023. In economy, that would cost a bit over 200,000 points. Business was over 1 million dom. So, yeah, quite a few points to fly across the ditch. And always just compare the interest rate, the annual fee, and all the nitty gritty as well. There's no use, paying this really expensive annual fee and not getting any benefit from it.
Yeah, I guess all these deals, sounds like money for nothing. Oh, if I apply for this card, I get all this stuff which I'm going to use for this. But you got to make sure you pay attention to what the interest rate is. If you're someone that doesn't pay the credit card off in time, and what the annual fee is. I was looking at some of the, I love sort of sitting in airport lounges. For example, I've only been into like 2 or 3 times in my life, and I was like, this is amazing. Like free drinks, free snacks, and foods and things. I was like, how can I get this all the time? And I hear there's some credit cards out there that can get you into these lounges. Oh. Some that can get you into pretty much like every lounge around the world. I found the card. It was like the Amex Platinum whatever, and it can get you pretty much anywhere. But the fee was like a good 17. Maybe it was that one that you mentioned.
Might have been. It has Platinum, a lot of perks, that one.
1,750.
You're definitely paying for it.
Yeah, but then it has the perks. So that's 1,750, annual fee. Well, what do you get for that? I think you get like a few $100s of travel credit. Yeah. You get free travel insurance. You get into all the airport lounges. Like, what's that worth? Yeah. And then you get lots of points and things. So you really got to make that work for you so that the value that you're getting for the card exceeds the cost of the annual fee. So exactly right. That's something you really got to weigh up. And I think also to qualify for that card, you need to be earning over a certain amount. So a lot of us probably wouldn't qualify for that card.
I don't know.
It's always fun talking about credit cards. It's such a exciting area.
Very interesting product.
Maybe a little bit less interesting, although some people are quite into this. I thought I'd look for good deals on car loans. Yep. A lot of people after flashy new wheels every new year. So I found is probably one of the lowest rates that you can get on a car loan anywhere at the moment is actually through CommBank. The Big Four get a lot of stick. People saying they don't offer the greatest deals, but they offer a green car loan. So this is for people buying electric or hybrid cars emitting less than 120 grams of CO2 emissions per kilometre. They offer a fixed rate of 3.99%.
Wow.
That's on a secured rate up to 7 years. But I should note the comparison rate is 5.07%.
That's how they get
so there'll be some hefty fees in there somewhere, because that's usually the big sign. There's fees in there is when the comparison rate is a fair bit higher than the standard advertised rate. It's the green loan secured from CommBank, but it can also be used for other products. So not just green and hybrid cars, but you can also qualify for that loan if you're going to buy some solar panels for your roof or other sort of green energy efficiency products for your home, like battery packs and heat pumps as well.
Yeah.
Another one. This isn't a green car loan product, so if you're just buying a regular car, the Queensland Country Bank new car loan. This offers a variable rate of 4.74%,
again,
up to
not
7
bad.
years. But this is a variable rate, whereas the other one was a fixed rate. So with interest rates going up and up, that rate will likely change. And the comparison rate on that one is 5.35%.
Okay.
Must also have some hefty fees in there. But because it's variable rate, it actually comes with a redraw facility. A lot of car loan products don't actually come with these because they're usually fixed.
Yeah.
And also allows early payout without penalty. So it's not fixed contracts, it's variable, so you can pay off that loan. And it can be used for brand new or demo cars. So it is restricted to those sort of brand new cars. So you can't get your 15-year-old mum's car.
Damn.
But Queensland Country Bank does also offer a green car loan, like CommBank, which is at a lower rate of 4.49%. That's a 4.77% comp rate. So that's exactly the same for CommBank. It's for newer demo cars with emissions of less than 120 grams of CO2 per kilometre. Also, for those people who don't want a variable rate and don't want a green car loan, there is the IMB Bank new car loan. So it's a fixed rate of 4.99% up to 7 years, and it's a 5.34% comparison rate, which, funnily enough, is actually a lower comparison rate than the Queensland Country Bank new car loan, which had the lower advertised rate but a higher comparison rate than this one, which is 1 basis point lower. And this is for cars up to 4 years old. So it says new car loan in the name of the product, but it's up to 4 years old. And this one, like the Queensland Country Bank one, is no fees for early payout, despite the fact that it's a fixed rate deal. So there you go. You can get some car loans, green or otherwise, for under 5% these days. So there you go.
That's pretty good. It's quite interesting actually what a lot of banks or lenders consider to be a green car now. Like I think a lot have just moved to any hybrid or electric car is eligible. But I remember looking at one particular lender's green car list back in the day, and I think there was a Ford Ranger on there, which is not exactly what you think comes to mind. A big, dirty, 4 or 5 cylinder diesel ute qualifying for a green car loan. But I think at the time that just meant it was greener than other vehicles in its class.
Category,
But I think a lot of lenders now have moved just to saying, hybrid or electric only to get the good green car loan rate. So under 4% or under even 5%, that's very competitive. There's savings accounts that we were talking about that are over that amount. And with inflation at 7%, not to get too nerdy, but you can just inflate the debt away, essentially, because the principal doesn't increase apart from the interest payment. It's if you're in the market for a new car, particularly a sort of more economical one, it could be a good go.
Yeah, well, car loan rates are usually a fair bit higher than what you find on a home loan rates. But these, if these were home loan rates, these would be considered quite competitive. So it just goes to
what's going on.
Yeah, the world's upside down now. Okay, so that was some good deal hunting. How do you like them apples?
Yeah.
All right, I think it's time for some facts, some fun facts.
I hope they're fun to round out the year. So I was scouting around the internet and I was like, what have other countries historically used as currency? Now, I think most people realise that, we used to have tea as a currency way back in the day. We had shells as currency and things like that, gold, obviously. But let's look at some of the more weird things. And again, I'm going to look at and refer to my notes. So cheese was used by the Italians as recently as 1953. There was one bank titled Credito Emiliano, and they began accepting some types of cheese as collateral for small business loans.
It's like the most Italian thing I've ever heard.
Yeah, just walking into the bank and going, yep, all right, here's a big wheel of brie, give me a business loan. Some villages in the Solomon Islands use dolphin teeth, and they're not just ripping them out of dolphins. I think they use the whole dolphin, hopefully.
Okay.
And I don't know what the exchange rate on that one is, Dom. Maybe it's $1 for a tooth. I don't know, which that's pretty good. And the Canadian Tire Company, they have like a bit of funny money. Canadian Tire in Canada, obviously, is kind of like a blend between Super Cheap Auto and Rebel Sport. What started as a consumer loyalty program quickly blew up in popularity in the land of the North. Some businesses accept the currency, so the Canadian Tire funny money, and eBay Canada has apparently started accepting it as a form of payment. So I bet their central bank isn't liking that at the moment. But yeah, what do you make of weird currencies?
Well, on the tyre one, I just on the weekend I was taking some stuff to the dump, and I found earlier in the week I found like an old tyre down in sort of this bushland that we have at the back of the property, and it was just dumped there. I was like, oh, what a pain. And I carried it up out of the bush, and then we took it to the dump. I had to pay $12.50 just for this one tyre. All the green waste, organic waste I could drop off for free, but he was like, oh, you got a tyre there. That's actually that's going to cost you $12.50 for me to just dump a tyre at the dump.
Yeah, thanks for doing the right thing.
So there's your exchange rate there. One tyre equals $12.50 Australian.
Okay. Was it a Dunlop or a Pirelli?
I don't know. It was just a regular old passenger tyre. He asked me, did it have the rim on it? I was like, yes. And he's like, oh, that's extra. Yeah, so
That's how they get
there you go, tire money. But dolphin teeth, you know, if I was in a just like a knick-knack shop and I saw some dolphin teeth, that's a pretty cool little souvenir to take home. I could imagine people paying a fair bit of money for a dolphin tooth. It's like good luck, you know, carry it around in your pocket. Just show people at party like, hey, I've got a dolphin tooth. Like, oh wow, that's so cool, man. Yeah.
Not sure what parties you're going to, but
I would find that interesting. I get bored at parties easily. If someone has something cool and interesting I've never seen before. I've never seen a dolphin tooth up front. But cheese, I mean, I do like a good chunk of cheese, but I just can't imagine securing a business loan.
It'd go off quite quickly too. So.
Yeah, it just goes to show you. For my fun facts this week, you know, I was looking at sort of funny sort of banking glitch stories. You know, we hear about these stories about, you know, someone was accidentally transferred a whole chunk of money by a bank. It's like, what do you do in that scenario? Do you just spend it because it's not your fault, or do you just immediately admit and say, "This, sorry, you've made a mistake here. I don't deserve this money." I mean, you can always just plead ignorance. Hey, I didn't know that wasn't mine. I don't know. But I just heard this story recently, and there's a podcast on it. There's a guy called Luke Moore. His nickname is Milky because he apparently looks like the Milky Bar kid. And yeah, he's a country guy from Goulburn, and he was kind of quite down on his luck. He'd lost his job, lost his girlfriend, and he was surviving on Centrelink payments until one day he found that his mortgage payments and withdrawals weren't actually changing the balance of his St. George bank account. He was kind of thinking, I swear that there was, you know, a mortgage payment and my balance is staying the same. And then he tried withdrawing $5,000 and they're like, yep, here's your money. And the bank balance stayed the same. Then he tried $50,000 and again, he got the money, but it wasn't the bank balance wasn't changing.
Sounds like a Matrix.
So it was like this computer glitch at St. George Bank. Over time, it was just this bottomless pit of money. He managed to get $2 million from St. George Bank, and he was just, you know, living the life of Riley on the Gold Coast, spending it on strippers, drugs, fast cars, and even a boat. But obviously, the good times like that can never last, and it all came crashing down when they cottoned onto it, and the cops got involved.
And what was his nickname, Dom?
He ended up serving a jail term. But yeah, I think he's been referred to as the Bogan Wolf of Wall Street. Which I love that, and I think, you know, they one day they might even turn it into a film.
I hope so.
Apparently there was a Vanity Fair article written about it, and you know, Peter Dinklage, you know, the actor from Game of Thrones, he heard about it and was sort of shooting the story around for someone to make a podcast on it, and I think the comedian Jim Jeffries had him on. So I just think that's great. I just love those kind of little those stories like that.
Aussie battler.
Yeah, I think he's kind of like a classic Aussie hero in a way, even though he's done something illegal there. But it's just...
We all love a larrikin.
Yeah, that's true. It's kind of in our culture. Kelly. Yeah. So yeah, that's my sort of fun fact. I guess it's not really a story, more of a fun fantasy. But yeah, you know, that's one. Just a fun one to finish off the year, I reckon. But yeah, I think it's time for the sonar. So Savings sonar, what's on your radar, Has?
All right, beepity beep beep. So coming up this week, just to keep it light and brief, we've got median earnings coming out on Wednesday. So it's currently $1,200 a week, which is the median means middle. So the ABS, I think, releases average earnings too, and the average is always blown out by the super high rollers, pushes up the average, like whereas median is probably a better barometer for where Australians are at. So $1,200 a week. I don't know what that equates to per year, Dom, but yeah, that's pretty good. It'll be interesting to see what it goes up to this round, and off the back of that as well, kind of in the same context. So on Thursday as well, household wealth data is coming out. I think it's currently around $500,000 for a household, because there's so many homeowners in Australia, and because house prices have just gone through the roof. So it'll be interesting to see sort of what happens there with early indicators of house prices falling, and also super balances too. You know, the share market took a bit of a tumble earlier this year, so it would be interesting to see what happens there. Hey?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised to see the wealth stuff fall a little bit. See, with house prices falling, that's where Fed Well, I mean, you think about the average Aussie, where's their wealth tied up in mostly? It's the house and
House
their
and
super.
yeah.
And both of those you'd think would have taken a bit of a dive around that time. And yet median earnings, I guess that will probably go up. I think wages growth is coming out fairly strong.
Yeah, 3 point
so
something.
strong that actually the RBA are a bit worried because they look at 3% plus wage growth equals inflation of 3% plus because they tend to go hand in hand. So there's a bit of but then the RBA is getting criticised for having that line as well by say unions and stuff that want those high wage figures. I mean the 3.1% or whatever it is wage growth is still way under inflation.
Yeah.
So people are actually having a real wage loss.
It's the worst in over 10 years, I think, the actual real wages when
Yeah.
inflation's taken into account and wages aren't keeping up. It's the worst in 10 years, I think, according to Callum Pickering from Indeed, one of the experts there.
Yeah, so it's kind of funny. It's almost like the RBA kind of wants everyone to take like a pretty big real wage loss for like a year or so until inflation can get down low enough where we can exceed that. So yeah, a couple of big ones to keep an eye on this week. For me, on my radar, I'm keeping a close eye on the labour force data that comes out this Thursday. So what's unemployment going to do? Unemployment's still at like almost all-time lows, I think, at 3.4%.
Yeah, wow.
I think each time we reach that time of year where unemployment data is coming out, all the economists saying, it's surely going to go back up now. Yeah, economy's slowing down. And then it just doesn't. So we'll see how it plays out now. Maybe it'll be healthy for the economy if unemployment rate went up a bit, as bad as that sounds.
Yeah.
Because it means, if the rate rises, it's really starting to make a dent. Economy's starting to slow down. Hopefully inflation will slow down with it. So I guess the RBA will probably be wanting to see that unemployment number go up a bit. But they'll never admit that. Also, I mean, obviously this is our last podcast of the year. Probably won't have another one till maybe late January. So in that meantime, monthly inflation data on January 10.
Yep.
I'll be on my summer break. You probably will be too.
I'll still be on island time. Yep.
I'll still be having a look at that stuff just because I'm a bit of a nerd. Just have a look. So yeah, I mean, it surprised everyone when it went down to 6.9%. So we'll see if it will keep going down or if it bounces back up. Obviously, the RBA will keep a close eye on that too. And then retail trade on January 11. I think that is for November spending.
Jeez.
So it encompasses the Black Friday stuff. So
Yep.
a couple of big releases in mid to early Jan.
Yeah, this time of year is always funny, isn't it? So yeah, you got Black Friday, as you mentioned, the unemployment data. You might see an uptick in maybe part-time work because of people starting to hire Christmas casuals and things like that. David Jones always does a big hiring spree, and a lot of other outlets do as well.
Yeah, I was a Christmas casual back in the day at a surf shop.
Good one. Yeah, wow, shuckers, bruh. Yeah, so yeah, it's a weird time of year, and while Phil Lowe's probably cutting into a 4x gold and having a nice little triangle sandwich, the economy keeps ticking along.
I don't think he's a gold drinker.
Yeah, maybe a Crown Lager.
Crown Lager, yeah,
minimum.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
So yeah, TWT.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, I think that brings the end to this podcast episode, but also the end to our podcasts for 2022. Harrison, it's been a pleasure.
It has been a pleasure. I won't get to see you in this dark room again for a little while. Thanks to the 3 listeners we've had. It's been great. I know who you are, Mum and so forth. Thank you. But no, it's been a great year. Learned a lot, and it's good to talk about what's moving our money around. Yeah, no, it's funny you talk about the listeners. I can't even get my parents to listen anymore. Maybe listen to the first 2 and then like, okay, you just keep doing your podcast. we know you're doing a good job. But no, we know there are listeners out there. We've seen the viewing figures, and we appreciate all your support, and appreciate spending this time with you, Haz. It's always fun to. It's been great. Yeah, chew the fat about finance. Yeah, that's the way. I guess thanks to all those listening to our final episode of the Savings Tip Jar for 2022. We really appreciate your support, and we also really appreciate any thoughts or feedback you might have. So
please don't hesitate to get in touch via Savings.com.au's Facebook, Twitter or Instagram, or shoot an email to inquiries@savings.com.au. Catch you next year.
Bye.
Bye.